Hey guys, how are you? Hope you're all doing very well. I'm going to be doing a review this evening. This is an American animation horror film, English language, released in the year 2012, directed by Jimmy Screamer Claus, and this film is called Where the Dead Go to Die. And the story to this one is as follows. Where the Dead Go to Die revolves around a troubled group of children living on the same block. They are haunted by a talking dog named Labby, who brings them on surreal hell rides between different dimensions and time periods. On the night of a lunar eclipse, he informs Tommy about the devil fetus living inside his mother. The same night, he attempts to help Ralph court the girl across the street, who is an unwilling participant in her father's child porn trading ring. Add in a memory-stealing junkie living inside an abandoned church, and you have 90 minutes of pure mind-melting insanity. So the movie revolves around a group of children. They are being brainwashed by this satanic talking dog named Labby. Now, Labby promises the word of God, but ultimately he's a demonic presence. He brainwashes these children. He gets these children to do things that they don't necessarily want to do, and they start their descent into pure insanity. So what happens from that point on is just completely messed up events that I'm not going to give away. So if you want to know how it unfolds, please go out there, purchase yourself a copy, and give this one a look for yourself. Now, my thoughts on the film. This is extreme, very, very extreme, so be very careful. It's very offensive. It makes no apologies for its offensive material. If you're very religious, stay well away from this one because it's very satanic. It's really a stab at religion. It's making fun of God. It's doing some very provocative things. Now, personally, I'm very secure in my religion, so it didn't offend me because ultimately it's just a movie. And as movies, especially horror films, they're supposed to be provocative. So I could appreciate that aspect of the movie. And I think for that, Jimmy Screamer Claus does a good job at provoking a very uncomfortable response from the audience, because this is one of the most uncomfortable experiences that I have had. And that's saying something. And also, being an animated film, I think it makes it even harder. But ultimately, I think an animated film, you can do things that you couldn't do in real-time movies. There were taboo subjects involving child porn in this movie. Now, you don't get to see any child porn, so don't worry. But that theme, director wouldn't have been able to get away with it doing it in real time. But, you know, in the animation, it kind of gives it another dimension. And it kind of feels like you're not watching something realistic, but it packs a very powerful punch. The same sort of punch as if you were watching something real. So I like the fact that the taboo subjects were touched upon. Not a lot of directors will do that. But obviously, Jimmy Screamer Claus wanted to make a movie that wouldn't appeal to the masses. He wanted to make it that would appeal to the extreme horror fans, and this is exactly what it will do. It will appeal to those, you know, fans out there who are wanting something that is a lot harder than your typical sort of horror film. The problem with the movie is the fact that it's so extreme that it almost crosses the line into comical. In fact, it does. There were scenes in there that I thought were unintentionally funny, because of the fact it felt like the director was like the school child in the school classroom, wanting to be so rebellious because he wanted everyone to look at him. He's basically saying, look at me, I'm being mischievous. All he wants is for the attention to be drawn onto himself. And Jimmy Screamer Claus really reminded me of that child in that classroom wanting the attention. He's put stuff that is so ridiculous in this film that it goes from being disturbing to funny. Especially with the voiceovers of the dog. I thought that was some of the funniest stuff I've heard in a long time, and I don't think it was intentionally made to be funny. And there are some scenes in the movie that go so far as provocative nature is concerned, that once again it turns comical. So it really felt like this was a desperate attempt at getting some attention from the movie world. And ultimately it comes across as very juvenile in that aspect, and ultimately it's what brings the film down. Because of the fact he's so focused on making it provocative, he's so focused on making it as vile and disgusting as possible, that he's forgotten the story. So the continuity of the story is very, very disjointed. And I don't think that the stories were supposed to play off each other, but it really felt like each little story was a separate movie, and it felt like it was a short movie. The movie had material for a short film, but the director has drawn it out as long as possible, and therefore it comes across as a drag. In fact, a quarter of the way in, I was bored. There was one segment of the movie involving this father. I'm not going to give anything away, but that part was probably the best part because it was a genuine horror feeling. but the other parts of it, it felt really try-hard. It felt very juvenile. As I said, he wanted attention. Very much the same as August Underground's Mordom, whereas the first August Underground was very disturbing because it was a lot more subtle, whereas August Underground Mordom, Fred Vogel has tried way too hard to provoke a response, therefore it comes across as a bit silly. And that's exactly the feeling I got with this film. It was very silly, and there were some parts of the movie that worked, but there were some parts that really didn't work. It's a very, very disjointed film. The animation is not great, but I actually like the fact that it was something different. It felt very cheap. It kind of felt like a video game, but I like something that is not Pixar. It's not DreamWorks. It's daring to be different, and I felt that that contributed to the unique feeling that the film actually had. So all in all, it is a very provocative film. It is extreme. Be very careful going into it. I thought some parts worked, some parts didn't. Ultimately, I'm only going to give this half a star. I thought, it might sound very harsh, but he had a lot of material in there that could have worked really well if the storyline was the focus point, rather than, really provocative scenes of, violence, sexuality, all that kind of stuff. He's put that right up on the pedestal, and he's forgotten about the continuity of the story, and the progression of the story really fails. Therefore, it becomes very repetitive and very boring quite quickly. But as I said, there are some points of the film that will appeal to the most hardcore horror fans. But if you're looking for something with a bit of substance, this one is definitely going to disappoint you. So ultimately, yeah, a half a star, definitely one that I could say pass up on. Alright guys, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.